Thank you. Oh, I'll wait to be recognized. I'm waiting to be recognized.
Member Warmington.
I'm waiting to be recognized by the speaker. Now shut your mouth.
The member from South Manchester on the motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I couldn't allow this motion to be passed without speaking on behalf of the constituency that I represent, South Manchester. But Central is in a similar situation, so I can speak to both. He's here to speak for himself. Madam Speaker, this resolution speaks to extracting a sum of $400 million from the Capital Development Fund for use in the implementation of Phase 8 of the Boxite Community Development Program over the years 2025, 26, 27, and 28. That's 100 million per year for all the constituencies that are affected by bauxite. Shut your mouth and listen up. Madam Speaker, that 100 million a year is really an embarrassment. If that entire amount was used in South Manchester, it wouldn't begin to dent the work that needs to be done in that constituency. It's quite frankly inconsequential relative to the needs of these constituencies. And if I speak specifically to South Manchester, Madam Speaker, if you were to visit many communities that have suffered, that have endured bauxite mining for decades, Broadleaf, Harmons, Prattville, Asia, Perrins, Lancaster, some of these areas have been mined out and there are still pits unreclaimed decades after they have been mined. When you go in some of these communities, you could only describe the landscape as post-apocalyptic. And this is not because of the recent hurricane. This has been in that condition for decades. Right now, there are schools which are struggling to reopen in South Manchester. Still don't have power. Prattville Primary, Winston Jones. The billions that have been extracted from the immediate environs of these schools. In fact, to get to Winston Jones is marooned. It's like an island and mined out all around the school. And yet they don't have a generator or a solar system that they can continue operating. The school has an agricultural department. They have hundreds of pounds of chickens that they've produced, which are at risk of spoiling because they have no electricity. And yet, billions have been extracted. Billions of dollars have been extracted and continue to be extracted from these areas. Billions in the US. The member from Western St. Andrew is correcting me. In law, the mined out pits are supposed to be reclaimed within a fixed period of time. What the companies appear to be doing is mining out about 95% or 97% of the bauxite. And they leave a little corner of the mined out pit. And they call it an open pit. They haven't finished it because there's a few truckloads left to be removed. And that seems to relieve them of the responsibility indefinitely, because some of those have been in that state now since 2010 and earlier. The JBI, which is being given this money to implement the program, behaves often as if they are an advocate for the industry, not an advocate for the communities that are impacted by bauxite mining. The mining, the Commissioner of Mines and the Department of Mines, which also has a role in terms of enforcing the appropriate regulations, they also seem to have been neutered. The benefits that the country gets from bauxite aluminum mining today is a trickle compared with what it was in its heyday. And I have made a recommendation in this House many times before, and this is not a partisan recommendation. This is coming from my perhaps unique experience of representing 3 different constituencies that are heavily impacted by bauxite alumina operations. Originally Southeast Clarendon, where the Jamaica plant is, then Central Manchester, where the Kirkvine plant is, and mining took place, and now South Manchester, which is literally honeycombed with bauxite alumina mining, with bauxite mining going to the alumina plant. This is an industry where we have not matched the expenses to mitigate the environmental damage with the revenues that the companies are earning. I have made a recommendation, Minister, before you had that responsibility, and I will repeat it now, that each ton of bauxite taken out, each ton of bauxite extracted, an amount of money should be put in escrow so that whatever happens down the road, there is money available for reclamation, for other environmental mitigation. I've had responses that it sounds like a good idea. But I made that recommendation, I think, the first time in 2008. And we still haven't had any action in that regard. What we have today is an industry where there's not a lot of reinvestment taking place. In fact, there is huge exposure. There's huge exposure to communities in St. Anne, where lands have been taken, but persons have not been paid. Contractors are used for mining. Contractors are used for haulage. Contractors are used for loading at the plant. Labor contractors are used to provide casual labor. All of these payables amount to hundreds of millions of dollars. I discovered via questions in the Senate that Petrojam at one time was owed $8 million by one company. By one company. And there may be reasons why some people prefer not to hear what I'm saying. Because we know there are a lot of vested interests around. You know, so when you throw stone in hog pen, the one that ball. So Madam Speaker, I would say even in this time of the more transient crisis that has been brought on by Hurricane Melissa, even getting a response from the companies that are operating to assist the communities in this regard is very difficult. We had an allocation for trucking water, and I know that conventionally or usually the companies truck water in the communities where mining is taking place. I tried to reach out to the company to say, well, at least tell me what areas you are going to be covering so that we don't duplicate the trucking of the water and the little allocation can go as far as possible. Not even the courtesy of a response from the companies as the elected representative of the people. So, Madam Speaker, I believe we have to, this industry is in its twilight. And in a sense, they say it's you know, the last kick of a dying mule is what you must be careful of. We need to be double our vigilance in terms of monitoring the environmental risks and the impact that these operations are having on our communities. It's not coincidental that when we look at the poverty surveys, these communities rank among the most or amongst the poorest of our communities. They should have been reflecting the benefits of the value that has been extracted out of this. And I say 400 million, 100 million Jamaican per year scattered across a number of affected constituencies. This is really an insult to the people, and I cannot support that.
The member from Manchester Northwest.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, through you, I'd like to ask the Minister of Finance a few questions pertaining to the order that she has brought to the House. Can the Minister say why it has taken 5 years for another constituency development project? This is phase 8. Phase 7 was in 2020. And just by the minister's admittance that this program is supposed to be every 3 to 4 years, why has it taken 5 years for constituencies that have been affected by bauxite to be seeing any resources, any at all? Secondly, can the minister say if there will be an increase over the measly sum of $4 million that has been given to constituencies like Northwest Manchester every 3 to 4 years for projects financed through this program? Can the minister also say which are the projects, that $1 billion that she mentioned in the last financial year, were these projects? Which communities, which constituencies were they done in, and how much was spent on each of these projects? Because I know constituencies like mine in Northwest Manchester saw no additional projects outside of the $4 million that was attributed to Northwest Manchester in 2020. And a member from South Manchester is saying that he saw none in southern Manchester also. And last question, will we be seeing the regular allotment to these constituencies and not when it is that the administration see fit that constituencies that have been affected by bauxite will see the regular flow of funds coming from the CDF?
Madam,
Next is the member from St. Catherine.
Madam Speaker, I have no problem with the position taken by the member from South Manchester as it relates to reclamation by the bauxite companies. But I have a problem with the part of his presentation as it relates to the amount being allocated to those constituencies that have to do with bauxite. He spoke about 100 million per year over 3 years. But the issue is that the amount that's allocated to those constituencies is not to get 100 million divided per year. Is that the amount you get a chance to deal with that over 3 years, the procurement and the implementation of projects. It also said that it's an embarrassment and insult of 100 million per year. I must know what I'm talking about. I need no help from you. I am saying, just hear me first, man. Hear me first. Rest, man, just behave. I am saying, I didn't call no name. You can't call my name. It was a constituent. It was a Rastaman. But when it started, it was under Dr. Paul Robertson. And those constituents that they mined bauxite from got 2 million per year. Southwest St. Catherine got 1 million over that period, during the period when they got 2 million. It was former member Audley Shaw that increased the amount from 2 to 4. And the amount for constituents like mine from 1 to 2. But remember, I was sat in cabinet over these years. He didn't advocate then for serious increase then. But now you find it convenient to ask it now. It's hypocritical. He made some good points in the presentation. But when you talk about the amount, bro, you just come back, that's why you don't understand. It's not a statement, minister, no. It's not a statement, minister. It's not a statement, you just come back, learn a little bit. So I'm saying, Madam Speaker, it's hypocritical for the member to criticize the amount. When he left here, was 2 million. He now comes back and comes back and it's now 4 million. He never objected under Dr. Paul Robertson and his cabinet. But you know me tell the truth, Mikhail. You know me tell the truth. So I do disagree with him now. That it could have been increased or can be increased, but never criticize it under his government. So not criticize now. Right.